to be with you boys again. Cheers. Cheers. Cheers
It's
to
been a
Rosie.
We should probably get. You think that we need our acoustic treatment in here?
The curtains?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get that. Call
It's
her
pretty good.
Sticks.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't work at all.
Are you tall enough, Aaron?
Did you just...
Well, I don't know. It's a good question.
It is a good question.
It's a fair question.
From Indianapolis, Indiana, this is Truthache.
So this B&B that we stayed at in New Buffalo, just a little north of New Buffalo. We normally stay at the inn. Normally, we haven't been up there in years. The inn is 6 months booked out, so we couldn't get in. So we stay at this B&B, and I am not exaggerating. Everyone's 80 plus years old. There's an elderly couple that walks in before us, and the man is shuffling his feet with his briefcase. And the woman, his wife, you can tell has a wig on, and she's got a roller suitcase. And they have to go up a flight of stairs to get to their room, and there's no elevator in this old B&B.
Oh, no.
And she is trying to carry the suitcase up the stairs, and she gets to the first landing area. I looked over, and I'm like, would you like me to help you with that? She's like, I said, it's really not a question. I'm just being polite.
Let me get that for you.
And she said, okay, then. And I was like,
it's,
wow.
It's, when you said, I'm just being polite, I could have taken that as,
I know.
I don't really want to help.
No. She
You're
could tell
supposed to
I
just
was,
say no thank
no,
you.
because
I'm
I was
hoping
walking
you'll
towards
fall
her.
down the stairs.
I was
my
walking
camera
towards
out
her.
and
She
everything.
knew. Hey, we have a monitor?
Yeah, these are the show notes. I actually got a new monitor arm specifically because I didn't want to have to. I wanted something with a little longer swing, so I didn't have to move it every time.
Are you like that guy that you get a new hobby and you're online looking stuff up to continue with the new hobby, like
Absolutely not.
a new swing arm for the monitor? I think you are.
No, I would never do that.
Hey, can you zoom in on that? I can't read
I know.
that
Can you
from
make
here.
that bigger?
There's almost nothing on
I
here
can't read
anyway,
it
Yeah.
either.
But it's a nice idea.
but it's still apparently still loading.
All right. We'll get to it.
So what have I missed for 2 weeks? What have you two been up to? Well, I've texted you a little bit. I don't know what the hell's going on with you.
Yeah, no, life is good.
Has the new gig started?
Not yet. It's still
Okay.
in a big wondering space of when local government contracts get signed. So
yeah.
could be never.
Yeah,
be
it'll
never.
happen. Did you get your suit ordered?
Yeah, I did. You know what? And I forgot about it.
Did you?
I forgot it. I haven't received it yet.
Yeah.
But it occurred to me maybe yesterday, like, oh my goodness, I've got
It's
to.
coming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm very
cool,
excited
cool.
about it.
So you're actually buying a suit?
I've bought a suit
Custom made.
because my
his
suits don't
body.
fit.
Well, you're buying a suit for this specific project?
No, I'm buying a suit because I don't have one.
Okay.
And I went to an event recently where, fortunately it was a little bit of a mixed bag, but I was clearly part of the underclass, which I'm okay with, like,
Sometimes.
existentially.
Yeah, sometimes.
But that's not the way it's supposed
Right.
to work in that vibe, right?
Right.
If you're going to the if you're working
Right.
at the circus, you dress like a clown.
That's right. Absolutely.
And
I'm a-
not that I don't enjoy being in
Oh,
a
my
well-fitting
buddy.
suit. I
Sure, of
mean,
course. I'm a little behind on my suit inventory as well.
Why is that? But behind meaning out of style, or just couldn't wear them if you tried to?
The ones that I own are still in style, despite
I'm
them
sure.
being
It's whether or not
10
they
years old.
fit
But
your style.
So I have what they call the perfect body,
Yeah.
Oh, is that what they call that?
but
I've called it- I've
Is
called
that
it
really
that.
what they call
but
that?
it was slightly better 10 years ago, but just slightly.
Uh-huh.
I actually just replaced my belt this week. Yeah.
For the
So
first time?
That's for the first time in 15 or 20 years.
So you went bigger, not smaller.
Well, it's not
Adjustable.
the
You went
word.
bigger.
Probably
the word is
reversible
not.
too. You're
I-
of the age.
The word is bigger.
But there's multiple holes. in,
Ample?
It's bigger. It's bigger.
okay.
like it.
Well, let me explain. So
I think the audience gets it, but please explain.
I have had, so when I buy a belt, which is very rare, I like to buy one made out of full grain leather.
something extinct or endangered.
Yeah, exactly.
Human, if possible.
So it's full grain leather. It's
Not full leather, real leather.
It's real leather.
Full
it's an
grain.
actual full grain leather, meaning that's a grade of leather, which means it's basically the top grade. It's a slice off the side of a cow. It is not
And a good slice.
laminated. It is not lower, grade choices. If there's, different qualities of leather or whatever, and they last forever when you do that. And so I think it was more than 20 years ago, actually, when I bought it, but it might have been around that, when I bought my a brown belt, which was like most days I would wear that. And then often I would wear a black belt. And I found one within a year or two of that. So I had these two really nice belts that were in perfect shape. They look worn in a good way, but they don't fit anymore. That's not the way I would describe it, is not fitting
Can't you
anymore.
just poke a
Well,
hole
are there
in the
not
tip?
enough? Are there not enough holes
They-
for you to make it fit?
I'll put it this way.
And
They
who wears
fit,
belts with holes anymore? Come
Right.
on.
they fit perfectly on the very last hole. And to add another hole would the
You'd
Be
Excess.
excess.
demoralizing.
Right.
No,
There would
no,
be
you
no-
can't. You
right.
can't. There's
There's
no
not enough.
excess.
There's no
yeah.
space, right?
So I was at
So
what
you
was
were
this?
preparing for the holidays and shopping for bigger belts.
So
Exactly.
did you go from a 32 to a 36 or
This was
34?
custom cut.
Oh, well,
So-
okay, but still, it's
So I don't know the
medium
size.
fatty.
Yep. But belt sizes and jean sizes are not the same.
that's a
as
fact. That's a fact.
right? So like a 32 waist would be which I consider huge. I would never be a
On a
32
pair
waist.
of pants.
But anyway, a 32
You
waist
would never be a 30. Your
Would be
thighs
like
are
just
32
look at me.
waist.
it'd be like a 36 belt, right?
Yeah, right.
because
depending
it would
on
have,
it.
it's
The excess.
32 to the first hole. Typically.
It's usually
Is that-
right.
yeah.
The number is
I don't know
it's
how
usually
they do
measured
that.
to the middle. I don't know.
To the middle?
I think it
Oh,
is
well,
measured to the middle.
I'm
Hey,
pretty
if
sure
he-
the whole
if
side.
he says
The belts you and I wear, there's no. I mean, it's just they're
Yeah,
elastic.
I don't
so,
wear.
yeah,
I
there you
have
go.
one belt. It's
you go.
elasticy. It's get through TSA.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you bought this belt.
So I bought this belt.
Only one?
I only bought the one.
Shocking.
I also already had a really nice natural. So this is a black belt. I'm wearing it today.
Oh,
The listener can't
oh,
see
look.
it, but
Oh.
It's all the way to
Nice
the last
girth.
hole on the belt.
it's in the middle. It's in the middle.
A lot
That's
of
what they
holes
call
on
it.
that belt.
So I have a natural leather belt that is high quality leather, very thick. Like it's one of the it is the thickest that I've had until I bought this one, which is just slightly thicker. So I have this black one and this natural untanned one, but I didn't like the buckle on my natural leather belt. So what I did is I bought a black belt from this gentleman at the fair. It was the Covered Bridge Festival.
Oh, yeah.
I bought a black belt,
This
had him
weekend.
cut it to size, and then I bought a buckle from him. I said, "Can I just have this particular colored buckle?" And because I didn't like the buckle on my natural one, I changed that out, and
Yep.
now I have two fantastic belts. And I probably still will get a dark brown belt because sometimes that lighter color is a little bit too
Get a
out of
Cordovan.
place for certain outfits.
That's
So,
really great.
anyway, it's gonna be great.
really great that you shared all those colors with us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Fall
got it.
foliage. It's awesome.
It's clearly been a journey.
It has.
So
It's
you got a
been
new
really
belt,
great.
but no new suit or dress slacks.
Yeah, what's up with the suits? Probably no need.
So
right?
I'll tell you what I'm doing for outerwear is I actually bought some RIT dye,
Oh yeah.
black RIT dye.
Yep.
And I'm going to re-dye all my black T-shirts
Mm-hmm.
so that they
Ooh, that's
are
actually a good
a
idea.
renewed shade of black.
but with
be-
the perfect fit.
Be
Exactly.
careful with your washing machine.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
It can stain it permanently. Just past experience.
Okay,
Be
Not that I
prepared
know
to
anything about
clean
this.
it afterwards.
Yeah, it can be more.
interesting.
Can be more
I think
trouble
there's
as well.
other ways you can dye clothes though, like in a
Yeah, in a
plastic
tub.
bag or
Yes.
in a tub.
Yeah.
It
not
may
your
recommend
bathtub.
that.
Yeah.
So the when I dye them, I need to get
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Don't-
experience right.
Correct.
Look it up.
Correct.
That's my recommendation.
Okay.
Years ago, before our suppliers started making tie-dye T-shirts. Get that out of my mouth. One of my friends had 8 washing machines, and for the tie-dye, and you had to have those because they stain the washing machine, right?
Mhm.
So black is the worst. The lighter colors you can get away with a little bit, but
blue.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
assuming
blue,
similar.
black, dark gray, yeah,
Because
not
all
so good.
blacks are either blue or brown
Correct,
based,
correct,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And it
Look at
matters.
you. It does
Well, but
matter.
it matters because if you're trying to
Yeah,
pair it,
yeah,
you need to know
yeah.
what the base
Spot on.
is.
Spot
So
on.
for video, you want a certain choice of those blacks.
Yes,
Right. And
that's
I don't
correct.
know which one, but I would guess it's blue.
You want the blue.
Probably the blue.
yeah,
Yeah.
you do.
Because when you
We want that in print too, by
and,
the way.
and this is actually the reason why I bought the dye, or it was my wife's idea. So ultimately, it started with a bleach splash. I got a splash, literally a
I know.
sprinkle of
Yeah.
bleach on one of my black T-shirts, and I'm like, this thing's done for. And she
Hydrogen
says,
peroxide.
no, it's not. And she had an idea, and then I thought, you know what? We should just re-dye all the T-shirts. And so, but I was watching this video, and I saw this particular podcast host who had like a jet black T-shirt. It looked fantastic, and it was partly the way the video was treated, but it was also because he had a high quality T-shirt. And I thought, you know, you really got to have an ultra black T-shirt, because I saw a video of myself,
It's striking, yeah.
and it looked like I was wearing a dusty gray
faded
T-shirt.
out.
You also have to watch out for dandruff or dry skin.
Yeah, you
Because
do.
we all had a friend in the past that had a real bad issue with that.
Yeah.
And eventually his wife was like, you cannot wear black.
I'll be curious to know what are your T-shirts made up of primarily?
Mine are 100% cotton.
Oh, you'll have no problem. But I would be curious if there was spandex or poly or how that would.
I wonder if you get different coloring.
You would.
I
think you would.
I actually like some of the poly blend shirts because of just the crispness of them.
Well,
But-
it holds the color longer.
Yeah, and it holds the color
Yeah,
longer.
really
on the
does.
Plastic is great.
Yeah.
But the problem is the knowledge that it's plastic is a downer, but I get
Yeah.
over that pretty
Yeah.
quickly. And then the it is very hard to find a T-shirt that fits me.
Yeah.
So I have to get this. So far, I've only successfully found one brand that only has maybe 3 colors to offer, and one of them is like a color that you would rarely wear.
I think you should go on to AmazonEssentials.com and
I've already tried it.
nothing.
I literally went through ordering multiple shirts, like
And nothing.
a dozen different shirts.
What about Built?
Built is great quality stuff that is, or it's
But
decent
they make
quality.
tall sizes. I mean, tall torso.
Yeah,
no?
it doesn't matter.
Huh?
If it says tall, that doesn't necessarily mean
And
it's
you
tall.
do need tall, I assume, because
Yeah.
otherwise they're belly shirts.
Yeah, just because it says tall doesn't mean that it's like a high torso person. It's usually a gimmick for someone who's kind of tall, and
Or wants to feel tall.
yeah, and they're like, oh, I
Like
want
the
this
condoms I buy.
In my corporate apparel, it's different though because you're talking T-shirts, but I'm talking polos and dress shirts. Tall is tall torso, tall in
Yeah,
the length of the
I think
shirt.
that's the intent of
Yeah.
tall every time,
Right.
but it's just
But
unsuccessful
T-shirts, I
with
don't
T-shirts.
know. Yeah, I don't,
But
no.
with polos, they tend to be cut a little bit longer anyway,
they are.
because they're designed to be
Yeah,
tucked in.
I would agree.
So
So can we go back to suits
yeah,
for
absolutely.
a second? So
Absolutely.
you didn't buy a
Great.
suit.
Did you get your suit?
Yeah,
I,
I was
right after I got off
I was
the phone
trying to
with
explain to
I
you.
ordered a suit.
But you guys kept interrupting me. I was trying to explain that I don't need a suit is where I was getting.
I think we're trying to tell you otherwise.
No, I agree with him.
I really don't think so. I mean, I do want to have at least, and I would start by saying at least one custom suit, which means like 4. Because as soon as I get one, I'd be like, I don't want to wear the gray one every day.
You're that guy.
Or
Yeah,
every
because
time.
the first one you get's the gray one, and the gray one
It's
your
kinda
least
like-
favorite.
I have this perfect black belt now and a natural colored belt. That means I need a
At
third
least
belt.
a blue suit.
You need a navy blue belt.
Well, and then I don't think I need a navy blue belt, but I do need a suit friendly belt because
Yeah.
these heavy duty leather ones are not so dressy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After I got off the phone with you on my
Yeah.
drive up north, that night I sat down and I ordered the suit.
I bet it's pretty quick when you've already ordered from them? Because I spent
Yeah.
about an
All
hour
my
kind of
stuff is
going
already-
through
yeah.
everything.
Their size,
Well,
specifications.
well, yeah, and they have a whole describe your body
Your
type, and
shoulders.
I showed it to Amy, and she's like, "No, that's not true. That's not true."
How you saw yourself and how
Yeah,
Amy
because
sees
I was
you are
like,
different.
"Yeah, I'm a rectangle box," and she's like, "No, you're not."
Sunken chest.
Yeah,
broad
exactly.
shoulders, skinny
The shoulders
waist.
don't go far enough forward in these pictures.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I found a jacket.
Did you-
I didn't know what
Cool.
my jacket size was.
Oh,
but,
good.
yeah.
Did you get shoes?
I have not
Shoes?
gotten shoes. I have really nice.
Oh, yeah,
black
you
dress
said that. Yeah,
shoes,
you said that. There you go.
but I
Cool.
like the brown idea.
Cool.
And I'll peg them. I'll peg the suit pants. Just
Yeah, there you
Nice.
go.
with some
I like
There
Italian
you go.
loafers and no socks.
On a totally different subject,
Yeah.
is this time of year everyone's favorite time of year? Or is it just mine because the weather is so spectacular?
In the Midwest,
Oh,
for
God,
sure.
I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Man.
But I'm not from Portland, so I don't know
Who's
what
oh,
it is this
yo,
time of year there.
Is someone from
I'm
Portland?
surprised you remembered. I barely
Wouldn't have anything to
mentioned
do
it.
with that
It's-
text that you sent out this morning.
Yeah. Oh, I get waves of it. Everybody's
It's
mad at
awesome.
everybody. It's sad. It's funny. It's
We're gonna send the National
All
Guard out.
propaganda.
It'll all be fine. Don't worry about it.
well. I mean, it'll be different.
Well,
you
that-
can't argue that.
Good
So
Lord.
speaking of Portland, that brings me to our
Mm.
topic today.
Okay.
So, so Michael sends this story earlier
this
this
boomer
week.
meme.
Was it not good? I thought it was good.
No,
I
it's
liked
good.
it.
I'm familiar.
I liked it.
So Michael sends this story earlier. Let me restate that so I can cut it clean. And it's about this 1969 Stanford study, right? So Stanford psychologist Philip Zimbardo, he puts two identical cars in two places. One's in like a really ritzy part of California.
Palo Alto,
The other is in a not so great part of New York.
also known as the Bronx.
And then the hood's up, and basically they, timed how long it took before somebody started vandalizing the car. And the conclusions were surprising, right? So at first, the car in the Bronx got gutted right away.
Mm-hmm.
But the car in Palo Alto hung on for a little bit longer until eventually one thing happened, and then thereafter everything got ripped out. And so the conclusion of this study is that once the rules appear to be in disarray, even just a little bit, then it increases the likelihood of other breaking of rules.
Broken window theory.
The broken window theory is,
An
came-
example of that phenomenon.
Yes.
and it came, as the post explains, it came from that study supposedly.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was interesting because I read this book years ago called Switch.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I have probably liked it better than any other book I've read. And it basically focuses on the idea of how things change. How do you change people? How do you change their ideas? In one of the stories that they highlight in there is how the police force in New York under, I forget when, I think it was in the late 90s, how they addressed crime through using that broken window theory. They first started to address some of those small things to hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
through that reduce crime, which
Yep.
this post shares, and we'll put the post in the show notes. But tell me, why'd you bring that up, Michael? What were you thinking about when you saw that?
Current times, mob mentality, I think, was in my thought process when I saw that earlier this week, as I was going through some information, and I was thinking about the National Guard being called into various cities, or the idea of calling in the National Guard into various cities to help control, figure out whatever, right? And
Squash crime,
Yeah,
eliminate
yeah.
violence, whatever.
And I mean, that subject in and of itself, we could probably talk about that for 3 or 4 hours, but I really started thinking about, what if you could eliminate whatever the piece is that's causing the problem, right? Yeah. Go ahead.
You're starting to sound like
Yeah,
Hitler.
right. And that got me thinking. It really got me thinking.
It's
like,
always a good idea.
it sounds like a good idea, but it's not a good idea, right? So
Well,
I really,
Well,
I don't
depends
think
on
it
what
is.
you mean by idea.
Well, if you
and
want
good.
to,
and part and remove and
right, if you want to get rid of the bad, which is that New York piece that you were talking about. Lori and I lived in New Jersey when that was going down. So the late 90s, we were there. Giuliani was in charge. He was mayor of the
Times Square
city.
was unsafe.
It was. They wanted to get all of the homeless off the street. They wanted to get the strip clubs under control, the prostitutes. So he did exactly what he said he was going to do. He cleaned it up. He just moved them.
Yeah.
He just got them out of eyes view of all of the tourists.
And demonstrated that problems can be solved.
Yes.
Now, do we like the solution?
Right,
Different
right.
conversation.
That
but
correct.
we can't do anything about this as a cop out.
So it makes me wonder, as I was reading through this and then the psychology of it all, there are two things I want to share. As a kid, one of my closest friends who just came in to visit, he and a friend of ours, we were in junior high, they raided an old room at the gymnasium of our junior high. When I say raided, they broke in and they stole all the football jerseys. And yours truly had the great idea that I could sell all of those junior high football jerseys to the varsity football players because everyone that plays football wants their number.
Oh, interesting.
This is 1981.
That was your first con.
Uh-huh. And I sold them for $25 a pop. All of them. All of them.
Okay,
And
so
I
you made
said-
a few $1,000s.
And I said to everyone I sold them to, you can't wear them to school, right? Because if you wear it to school,
Well, no, you stole it. I'm just going to tell him you stole it.
how long do you think that lasted?
Second day?
48 hours.
Yeah.
Someone comes to school, and what do you think they say? Oh, so let me sold me the shirt. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
shit. So I get called into the principal's office.
Oh, does he snitch? Does he snitch?
I did not. Marciando, a good Italian principal, looks at me and says, hey, I know you're not going to tell me, but I got to ask. I said, I can't tell you. He said, okay, you're going to get suspended. I said, I know that.
Yeah.
He said, I'm calling your father. I said, please call my dad. Don't call my mom. He said, okay. Dad comes, picks me up. What the hell did you do? I said, well, Bobby stole the football jerseys and I sold them. And he looks at me and says, you sold all of them? I said, yeah, they're gone. What'd you sell them for? So I tell him, he's like, shit, where's the cash? I give him the cash.
Mhm.
He won't let me have it. And I think he's going to give it back to the parents, which is what he ultimately did. But that made it even worse because
Then you made nothing.
I made nothing, but now they're all culpable, right? Even the
Mhm.
ones that didn't know, even the parents that didn't know, they all figured it out ultimately, but they all knew. But
Why that? Because their kids had the jerseys.
because the kids play football, and you're not going to be the only kid that doesn't have the football jersey.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So
No, they know, and they're
Yeah.
in on it.
So what I found fascinating as I think back on that after reading this little piece is that we all participated in something illegal, something that was not right. We knew it was wrong, and none of us batted an eye. We were like, yeah. And even the most stringent individuals that you would never, ever think would do something like that, they all participated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Every single one of them.
because they had permission.
Well,
That's exactly
that's
right.
exactly right. So what some people would point out is that everybody steals or lies a little bit.
Right.
Right. So you might say that stealing and lying is wrong, depending on what belief
I would
system you
say
come
that.
from.
Yeah.
But it's certainly harmful, or usually
Oh.
can be.
Good point.
So, some people would steal a car, and maybe that's a much smaller number than the number of people that would steal a pencil. But if you go to an office and work there for a while, and then you walk out with a pencil, most people would never think even twice about whether or not that was okay.
Right.
Right. They're just like, they probably won't think about it at all. But on their way out the door, what they will think is, I'm going to grab a couple more of these pens because these pens are the
Yes.
best pens.
Yes.
But it might be fewer people that would steal, say, a whole notebook or a stack of notebooks.
Yeah, I was going to say a box
case.
of printer paper.
Or a
case
ream
of toilet paper.
a ream of printer paper, or a laptop, or
Just
whatever
keep
it is.
escalating.
Yeah.
Or $30,000 or
But
that's how it happens, though,
but,
right?
But the psychology of it is, as soon as there's a little bit of permission or some way to justify that first bit,
entitlement.
then the very next piece
Yeah.
is because entitlement is exactly right. People will look at, I've worked here for 13 years and it's been this and it's
I
been
haven't
that
gotten
and
this raise and that
and-
raise, and they
and-
passed me up for this. And
exactly. And so
this is my printer.
what happens is we justify the thing
Mhm.
based on some circumstance.
And that's what that study shows.
Exactly. And I think that what I want to get into today is I want to get into the whole topic of the military personnel being sent to Portland, Chicago, wherever else, and what you have in those situations. I think the first thing that we can think about is like what you have in those situations is you have people that might commit some act of civil disobedience, violence, harm in some way, both on the servicemen's side and on the citizen side. And both of them are in a circumstance where they have that first level of justification. Like at first you're just blocking the road, and then you're responding to a dirty cop, and it goes from there. And then next thing you know, there's riots and windows are being broken and that kind of thing.
And you've nationalized the armed forces to police society.
Yeah.
Again.
Hmm.
Again.
Tell me what you mean by again.
This is, whether it's good or not, I look forward to talking about. It is not an unprecedented thing.
Yeah, it happened in 1996.
Well, it happens in a lot of ways. The deploying of the National Guard is one way. But the important part for me, I think, is that it can happen. So it forces the question of, is this good? How should it be handled?
Right.
Because unless we're going to change the ability to do it.
So, okay. So your hometown of Portland, which didn't you say you were from?
Yeah, I probably haven't mentioned it.
Okay. Well, I
grew up in Portland. First 25
I heard it
years.
somewhere. I think I knew that you were from Portland. So your hometown is filled with people that are. I'm not saying that it's a majority or minority. I have no idea, but there's a bunch of people that are unhappy with what ICE is doing related to immigration, and so there's protests going on, right? And then Trump says, we're going to clean up this town and we're going to send the National Guard. A judge says no to sending the Oregon National Guard. So what he then does is he says, okay, fine. Then we're going to send the California National Guard. And next thing you know, there's a standoff of some sort. And I don't know the level of escalation that it's come to. What do you think about that whole scenario, Aaron?
I think I understand why it's happening. Portland has been, and again, I've been outside of it for 20 years, so outside looking in. Portland has really been on this rapid decline in terms of quality of life that's really hard to put your finger on. The homelessness problem, whatever you imagine it to be, it's worse. The resultant crime, because now you have all this chaos, right? The crime, Portland, I believe, is second in the nation for highest crime rate city.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're counting lots of little things. That's how it gets there. It's Midland for murder and and kidnapping and stuff.
Right.
But I think it's a response to, we've watched you have this problem that is destroying your city. It seems to be the people in power have built a system to protect themselves and have not been delivering on promises and are profiting greatly. I'm not saying any of these things as accusations. This is the narrative I hear out of the Portland people that aren't at the naked bike ride.
Yeah, right.
And it's a demanding of change. I really liked your idea about shaking up the box, because the unfortunate part about that is everything goes to hell.
Mm-hmm. Always.
However, somebody brought up, I don't know who to attribute to, but they said, since when is norm inherently good? Because like, well, that defies the norm. So that's a problem. Is it? Because it used to be normal to own people. Right. And to take stuff, like if I could take it, it's mine. Right. Those were norms. So yeah, I think it's a forcing of their hand to do something. I think it shows a lot of incompetency in their ability to deal with the pressure of it, whether it should happen or not. It's weird. The federal facility is being left alone for protesters to do whatever they want to do. It's fairly concentrated. Not like in 2020.
Well, what's concentrated?
The rioting, and there's
the actual activism, and
it's all propaganda video too. And a lot of what I'm seeing lately was video taken during the 2020, where they would set up these events to antagonize officers into following protocol and launching the tear gas and advancing with the shield walls and stuff like that. So it's very performative. It's very antagonistic. It must be awful. The businesses around there, like everybody's going Republican, apparently, because they've just been crippled by their city's policies, which I can identify with in some ways. So anyways, that's my story on it. It's interesting to watch. I think it's good only in the boxes need to be shaken sense, because that box is poisoned.
So you're saying that basically things need to be shaken up, and
I do that part. I do like,
and so sending the military in, right or wrong, good or bad, you at least think there's a benefit to
it cannot continue.
Okay,
change is needed,
and it's a very painful. It probably won't be the best option. No, whatever happens, probably won't be. But what ifs?
Yeah. So what do you think, Michael? I want to hear your opinion on that.
Back up just for a second. The hypocrisy of the current administration blows my freaking mind.
It's part of the game.
Thank you. It is. We have an insurrection, and there's no National Guard called in for the insurrection, but
denied.
Shit. Now we've got cities that are in chaos. That's good enough for the National Guard. So the hypocrisy blows my mind.
I mean, it obviously supports Trump's narrative.
Of course.
So what you see with the Trump administration is you have J.D. Vance was on the Charlie Kirk podcast again this past week.
He is the new Charlie Kirk, by the way.
Right. And I think that this is God. So I think that there's a lot of propaganda. You can always be, say I'm, scrutinize how good my information is. But when the actual individuals in question say an actual thing that is worthy of judgment, regardless of
they said it. And it's their job to say things publicly. So higher standard.
So it is just kind of interesting. He gets on the podcast and he starts talking about how we need to leave these Republican commentators that apparently said the N-word and celebrated Nazism on their internal chat. He's like, kids say stupid stuff, even jokes or whatever. And we're talking about kids that are in their 30s. But for some reason, he says something quite different about, if you see someone saying something negative about Charlie Kirk's death, then tell their boss. And he says you should essentially pounce on them, but not on the other.
Right.
And so what the narrative is, what I see happening is I feel like what Trump is trying to do and his team is trying to create antagonistic situations so that they can escalate. I think the plan is to escalate. So what they want to do, in my view, is they want to send the military into cities, especially governed by local Democrats, so that they can create a narrative that there is a left-wing issue. Okay. So Portland ranks 144th on crime according to 2024 numbers. And
you mean globally or nationally?
Nationally.
Yeah, I can show you more reliable numbers. Is that Wikipedia, perhaps?
Yeah, it
Okay.
is. So, and I can't wait to see those more reliable numbers, but I'm not trying to parse like some kind of high level of detail other than to just say, this is where they're landing. They're not the only city that has,
God, no.
I wouldn't have even put them in
crime.
the top 20 because, again, that crime statistic has to do with smaller violations and things. So,
Sure.
yeah, wherever it ends up being. I agree with you that. Now, are you aware that they are being sent into Republican areas as well, but those have been approved and welcomed?
Yes, I am aware of that. So yeah, so what's happening is Trump says, I'm going to send in the National Guard, and he asks permission. Never.
No, I mean, he does it formally, right?
But what happens in the Republican areas is they want to, what's happening is it's Republican states with Democrat cities,
or like mixed cities.
Yeah. And,
purple.
But I don't see the benefit of doing that to begin with, because what you have when you send a military presence in, you get a bunch of regular people that are in the military that are probably really nice people that have reasonable training, and they're not going to
some amount of discipline
and that sort of thing. But you also have, certain commands. There's certain things that they've been expected to do. And just the fact that you have a military presence in a place where people are like, why would we have a military presence here, is going to put people on edge. And I think, to your point, Michael, that with that original post that you shared, I think that when you have a broken window, it does create an environment where there's a higher likelihood of a broken
100%.
open door.
Permission,
100%.
would you say?
It creates the permission structure.
Yeah.
And I think that you have people on the protesting side that do that. And then you have people on the government side that are doing that. But the government is the government. And they should have systems and discipline and rules to follow.
They should.
And individuals
some of their agents do.
I would say,
but that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't believe, and I have a couple business contacts that are in the National Guard, active. There's no way they signed up for what we're about to go through. They did not sign up to police.
I mean, there is an
explicit
explicit component where the only question you're asked are you willing you willing to turn weapons on your your own people?
Right. And and
that's not what they're being asked to do, by the way, but that's what we're inferring of if things escalate.
If you bring in the National Guard, they're not coming in to play nice, right? They're coming in to control. That's what they do. They're there to control whatever the situation is. And I speak from past history. When I lived in Miami, Florida, we went through Hurricane Andrew. The state was the southern part of the state was declared emergency, and the National Guard came in. There was a curfew in place. I got to know some of those guys really well because they were right there in my neighborhood. Brought them food, gave them water, did whatever we could to help out, right? It was a terrible, terrible time. But they were there to control the situation, the narrative, the crime, everything. They were there to control.
If they can help, great, but that's not all they're there to do.
That's correct. They're there to control. And when you bring that piece into a city that's already on edge, man, I'll be curious to see how many American National Guardspeople are going to feel okay with that. Like, I'm now pointing my M16 at you, Aaron, and you, Daniel.
Can I bring something back to the beginning?
Yeah.
So Philip Zimbardo, who you mentioned around the study, most famously known for the Stanford prison experiment.
Yeah.
So if you're in the psych world or undergrad or whatever, like you're tired of that already. So two things are very interesting to your point is that one, the position of authority seems to allow people to overextend their willingness to apply it. And there's a number of famous studies cited early on about, the shocking and of a subject and all that. So that was one of the key pieces from that prison experiment, is that if you gave people power over others without any sort of oversight or accountability, they abuse it, regardless of who they are.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that came out of this over decades is how absolutely unreliable and misdirecting that research was. How many people built off the premise that it were true. And it's not that things didn't happen, but it was so loaded and misaligned. And
what I
it's not a credible source. It's more like folklore, psychology folklore.
Yeah. I loved the post because it goes through the summary of the study, and it says, here's what the findings were and what this might tell you. But it also says, here's the criticism. And it had like 2 slides on this carousel dedicated to saying there's so much criticism. We don't know this. We don't know that. There was some,
a lot of
research
the claims
bias.
have been falsified.
Yeah. And when you do studies like that, I think that you can, of course, I've never been a psychologist or a scientist of any kind. But you can, and I relate my understanding of research to the fact that I know everything, and also just
a loose version of journalism.
and then I know everything,
and then just
priceless.
And if I don't know it, it's not important.
Carrie, get in here. Go on.
And then just doing research for marketing purposes. And when I do research for marketing purposes, I try to be as genuine about what that research can and can't tell me as I can. And I found that a lot of times, because I work with other marketers, a lot of times marketers are trying to find a conclusion that supports what they already believe. And that's probably the same with scientists oftentimes too. Welcome
to humanity.
Yeah.
It's rough at first.
So, but you also, if you have some humility in the way that you put that together and you try to separate yourself, suspend your beliefs and separate yourself from what the outcome could be, then you have a chance of getting something that's unreliable but useful, right? And so the prison study, which I've somewhat heard of, I can't remember the details of it. I've definitely heard of it. I just can't remember much about it. That study probably tells us something that's a good object lesson, but not a good thing to build policies on.
It illustrates. It turns out power corrupts, in case nobody's ever brought
Always
that up
has.
before.
From Roman Empire. We can go back in thousands of years and prove this, right? Yeah. I tend to look at these situations and I play them out in my head long term. Like, what's the good and the bad and the ugly? The good up front might be you control the situation and you extinguish whatever it is that we're trying to take care of. The flip side of that is what happens when they rebel, right? Mm-hmm. And they will rebel. No one's going to go quietly, right? Yeah. So now we've got arms against arms. Now we've got American citizens taking arms against our own military. That can't be good. And then what happens if it gets traction? And now all the knuckleheads that want to take up arms against the military form an alliance and want to now attack the military.
Well, there's that permission.
Yeah. Now it just plays out in a way that it brings back to my mind a modern day civil war.
Yeah.
And that scares me.
I think that there's a pretty high likelihood that we won't have the type of civil war that happened in the first round.
It'll be different. Right.
Meaning a full-blown military on both sides.
Right.
But I think that what could happen is substantial civil unrest.
Oh, yeah.
Which comes with some violence.
Which we've seen.
Yeah, we've seen that.
And we only
recently,
And to be clear, we only have one military today. So you're right. It wouldn't be military against military, but it will be military against citizens that want to act in a militarian way, right? They
Yeah.
will want to organize,
Yeah.
create structure.
And we actually do have multiple militaries
Correct.
because the
Sorry.
National Guard is state
Yes.
based.
There's
Each state has troops.
There's another country that had a National Guard way back when.
Yeah, I don't know the answer.
Okay,
to this
I
one.
believe you.
Germany.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That got nationalized, right?
Mhm.
And I'm not trying to imply that we are looking at
Now,
that.
listen, you're hitting all the key narrative points.
But
right? Civil War, Hitler.
But you
One
can
more.
s-
It's
yeah, I'm not going there
climate
yet.
collapse. Get climate collapse in there. Trifecta.
But you can see it, right? And I'm only using history as our past
As
to
a
look at.
possibility. Absolutely.
Correct. Just nothing more than that. And it makes me wonder: are our politicians smart enough to use history or look at history to understand what could happen if
Yeah.
we're not careful? And I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, me neither.
It's
Yeah.
probably a mixed bag because
Yeah,
there's
which
300 and
ones?
some of them.
Right,
yeah.
right.
So
And I think some of
when-
them may want that, right?
when Hitler came into power, he was actually examining the United States.
He was.
He was looking at what the United States was doing, and he actually commented publicly on what the United States had done to overpower certain people groups,
Mhm.
and essentially leveraged that thinking for his own
Right.
pursuits.
Right.
When Trump was in the early stages of his third run for president for this second term, which I guess you could say should be his third term.
Depends on how you voted.
But there was a narrative, whether true or not, I don't know. I know he made a comment about Hitler, and then of course certain media groups
Right.
seized on the narrative that he was infatuated with
Invoking, I believe,
Right.
was the
Well, no.
popular word.
Before that, you're thinking of some speeches where he used some terms that sound familiar.
Sure.
But there was a point in time where he
You're
actually
correct.
was saying, no, Hitler actually had some pretty good ideas.
He did say that.
Hell of a community organizer.
He could
Yeah.
rally the troops.
So yeah, I don't know what that tells us about
Historians would say out loud that there's nothing new that can be created in our society that hasn't
Yeah.
already happened. And I'm talking about society.
Well, and others might say that history never repeats, but it rhymes.
Yeah, it may not repeat, but
Because
it's pretty damn close.
There's a lot of different contexts in
Yeah.
any situation, but to your
Yeah.
point, that human nature,
Yes. Yeah.
where it's like, well, of course, somebody who has
Yes.
unfettered access to this resource and that
Right.
influence.
Yeah,
Right.
so the human nature seems to be
So I'm
consistent.
surprised a rich guy
Yeah.
banged somebody.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, funny that we're talking about that because there was a study in the Wall Street Journal, and this goes back some time. So if anyone Googles it, it's got to be at least 8 or 10 years ago. But it talked about how, as an American society, we expect, tolerate, and condone the behavior of that white, rich, older, or elderly male that you just described, Aaron. That we accept that because we expect that.
A colleague from the past referred to that category as the white male landowner.
Yeah, right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
It's the plantation.
Yeah, it's the
guy.
plantation
It's
guy,
Colonel
yeah.
Sanders.
There's
So that's why I say out loud, man, you don't have to look that far in our rear view mirror to see some issues that we can learn from. But man, I don't know if we're learning from them. Go ahead.
Let me offer kind of a wildly different perspective.
Yeah, bring it.
yes.
I like it.
And that's not in any way
Wait.
that diminishes
No.
or declines the possibility.
And you did this by raising your hand, which I really like, but the
Without the
listeners
camera,
can't
I
see
don't
it.
look like a bitch.
Go.
Well, so this is something that I listened to a conversation between people who apparently had some familiarity or involvement. They were talking about tactically what's been happening, particularly with criminals, immigration, and its involvement with these stings that in some cases the National Guard is involved with. And so they were talking about all this rounding up of immigrants and deporting, and how there's examples of people who aren't criminals don't have a criminal history. They were just sort of like in the van
Right.
or in the room or
Wrong place,
at,
wrong
or,
time.
or at the factory where they were employed.
Right.
And not to no argument of that one way or the other, but the stated purpose was going after the criminal element. And what they were talking about, and I think, is it Cash Patel? Yeah, director of FBI.
Yeah, that's correct.
Is that right? Okay.
The short guy.
So he was
Got
talking
the bulgy
about,
eyes.
they were talking about all this indiscriminate, just grabbing brown people off the streets kind of thing. He's like, what's taking place right now, these initiatives have been in the works for months, if not years. The primary targeting, whether it's what's happening or not, I don't know. I don't need to keep making disclaimers because I'm just literally telling a story I overheard. What's actually happening is they are targeting criminal networks. And one of the things about the National Guard is they're using that presence to cause the criminal networks to contract. Right?
Yeah, I'm in favor of that.
It's hard to be out doing shit
right.
when there's people watching.
Yeah, you got the military watching.
So by
me.
contracting them, now you can drop that Black Hawk helicopter into an apartment tenement and round up 30 people that you would have had to hunt down on the street.
I have no issue with that.
Well, so the argument about, or that claim and that explanation about what's happening is, if you're not aware of what all has gone into this and how deep these criminal networks are entrenched, how involved they are, you would think it's just people pulling people off the street. And his point was, we have been doing this, working on this for a long time.
So why not?
We know exactly who we're getting and what for. And I think there's collateral damage that's
for sure. But why not come out and say that? Why not? I mean, we say everything else.
They do.
No,
but why
don't.
aren't you hearing it? Would be a different question.
Sure.
Because I see that shit on Twitter most of the time. Like, oh, here's him talking to the the Defense Committee or whatever.
I guess what I mean by that, Aaron, is
yesterday.
why not have our commander-in-chief say, this is what's happening. This is our plan.
That's literally we're going into these cities to tear out criminal elements. Nobody believes him.
Yeah,
right.
It's rather vague, right?
It's hyperbolic for sure.
Hyperbolic, but I'm going to say vague because he is, first of all, he's never been one to say this is exactly what we're doing, right? There's always room left or right.
I'll accept. I don't necessarily agree, but I accept that.
Okay. So what you just explained, I would love to hear in detail what we're trying to do, but we're always left, I say always, mostly we're left in the dark in terms of what we're trying to do.
Could come from the public knowing
what bad can come from it.
Them learning about what defense's plans are.
Well, motherfucker, we've got a guy that lays out our strike plans.
Even knowing the tactics means if I see National Guard, I get out of the city.
Well, heck, are you kidding me? He puts out our strike plans on social media.
Or at least on like a chat.
It was Signal.
It
was Signal. And he did it once.
That we know of.
Well,
that we know
of. He
did it twice.
He did it publicly once.
What? Right.
But Hegseth is a jackass.
I
think so.
Yeah.
Never mind.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Speaking of publicly, somebody introduced something to me that was like, I thought this was satire. And they said that Trump has the most public nominations for the Nobel Peace Prize of any president.
That probably
like
makes
national
sense.
endorsements, which the trick that I found out all the way down in community notes was that's typically not a public thing. It has been in the 21st century, but it's not typically public. It's something that gets announced by the committee. And
I want to say this. The government works for us, works for the people, right? We, for some reason, are sheep, and we think the government knows what's best for us. And that's a mistake. And it's a mistake because we don't have term limits. It's a mistake because we allow the same people to control the government for extended periods of time.
Talking like MAGA.
Starting
to make sense.
Well, listen, MAGA does not push that term limit topic, but
Most don't.
Yeah.
Especially
think
the
that
men in
I-
power.
I
Oh,
think-
nobody would tolerate that.
No,
Yeah, that's
no.
You
But
just
it's
still-
like everything else.
it's
That's
gotta
not going to
go.
happen either.
Yeah, you still have to have.
I didn't think
Yeah,
IU
a
football would
champion
be
for it.
playing for a national championship.
Okay,
either.
fair.
But
Magic
maybe,
does happen,
It does
yeah.
happen at least once in my
Life is a
lifetime.
mystery,
So
says
all
Madonna.
right, so let's get back on track
Yeah,
here.
go
So, so
Stirring the pot.
with
That was
when
good.
so let me just kind of to put a bookmark in this. I would say that it sounds like we all are hovering around similar views on this, but with very different details on
I would agree with that.
the whole fact that sending the military in is not new, but it is not ideal.
It's not common for
We-
sure.
But so here's what I would point out. I would point out that the having a militarized presence does change the mood, right?
Of course, it
the
does.
dynamic, yeah.
And
People like me feel better.
right,
Going out, being out, like, okay, I don't have to
What
watch
are
everybody.
people like you?
Normal law-abiding citizens
Who knows
like
how to kill
Oh,
some?
you know
Who
what?
knows how to
No,
legally
no,
kill someone
people
with
who
his own
don't
bare
have
hands?
weed on them. Because
Can I-
if I did, I'd be really sketchy.
We've put military on university campuses in the past.
Well, there's one example, yeah.
So
And
we
we've had-
also
we've had death
we
from the
also
military.
locked down Washington D.C. for an inauguration and prevented people from even being outside during
It's
that
true.
period.
It's true.
So it's not. That's kind of my thing. It's like I know that's not the same thing,
It's
but
not.
it's a great example of.
so
Well, if you don't like it, let's not allow it to happen anymore.
right. So let me ask you a question though. So there's these isolated incidents that are many. There's plenty of them, right?
Yeah,
But
many anecdote becomes data at some point.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that there are these incidences that, like, an inauguration is 1 day long,
Mhm.
and or maybe it's 2 days long.
Whatever.
depending-
It's a finite,
Yeah.
short period.
So
of
there's
time.
many of those kinds of scenarios where the military has been utilized for some kind of civil protection
Right.
and
Civil
keeping things
unrest.
under control. And then there is the permission of the governor in those cases. Probably every one of those cases.
There's
I would
a
guess.
cordiality. Is that a word? A cordiality.
Yeah, sure. They agree.
To the process of, we'd like to offer the help of this. We appreciate your offer. We'd like to accept your help.
Exactly.
Thank you. We'll be.
And now there is an antagonistic version of it that lasts for longer periods of time, and it is the theme right now. And I think that not only is it the theme that these governors are dealing with, I think it's the theme that Trump wants the news to cover.
Oh,
He
yeah.
wants people to see this.
Yes.
And I honestly believe that he is looking for an opportunity to escalate.
I do too.
I know that this podcast is probably the most popular and one of the biggest podcasts that people listen
America's favorite podcast, I heard from my mom.
to. But exactly,
Trump's
I've heard the same
listening.
thing. I've heard the same thing.
My
from
mom. Have you
multiple
talked to
people.
my mom?
Multiple people, multiple moms. But there was a fantastic episode from Sam Harris. The second half of the podcast is always a paid access podcast, unless
And I'm sure you pay. Another humble brag. Go on.
yeah, I do.
I subscribe to podcasts. I'm doing well.
Anyway, this guy, he had a guest on there who has most of his history in conservatism. He's a political operative in some way, and he's a guy I've never heard of. Most of his history was in conservatism, and then he's kind of moved to the left over the course of the last 10, 15 years. And he has also some, historical credentials as well, right? So he's a
Appeal
historian of
to
some kind.
authority. Continue.
So the point that I'm making here is just to give you some bullet points of who this guy is without knowing who he is. And he talks about the sort of the elements that he's seeing in politics right now that concern him about the degrading of democracy, the potential risks of authoritarianism. And then he talks about the specific thing about troops being sent to cities to tamp down crime when crime is actually lower than it's been in the last 5-10 years. And so Trump is using the state of emergency as this guy explains, the state of emergency strategy. He says, we're going to call it a state of emergency. We're going to send in the military, and by all measures, it is objectively not an emergency.
It's a technicality that they're exploiting,
but,
for sure.
But the president has the purview to decide what an emergency is.
Yep.
Like, the power of the presidency is you get to say what an emergency is. But by any objective measure, like, we can't look at this and say it's worse than another time, it's different than another time. It's actually somewhat better than another time. And I don't know the crime statistics in Portland, but like in Chicago, for example, Chicago's a big city. Of course, it has a lot of crime. The crime in Chicago is down.
Crime in Indy's down.
Crime was at an all-time high 3-4 years ago.
Right.
So it should be down because we're not allowing rioting and
exactly.
But in some cities, it's not down as much.
That only supports my point in that the emergency is not now.
Correct.
I'm not saying that things are great. The emergency is not right now, because it was worse, and we had it, somewhat under control in terms of like what the state was doing to address it. And now they're in a better position because crime has dropped back to a more normal or reasonable level, maybe even lower than what it's been before those all-time highs.
Yep.
And yet now is when the president is calling it a state of emergency.
It's a sham. It's a shell game. It really is.
I agree with you.
It is.
And one point to make about Portland is that their reason for deployment is that the city is unwilling or unable to defend the federal facility. And since the city won't do it, I assume it's a technicality.
But defend them from what?
From the protesting,
vandalism, rioting, destruction.
Yeah, there is crime being committed, and some of it is bullshit crime.
Right.
But also, there's a lot of antagonizing. There's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of propaganda opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think they're being antagonized on intentionally to create the propaganda.
Yeah.
So depending on what your leaning is and what your media algorithm is dialed into, you're going to see one perspective of video from last night versus another.
Right. But who's the antagonist? Who's the one who's trying to create the propaganda?
Oh, you're from the top down.
Well, now we're talking about the Pentaveret.
Yeah.
No, the antagonizing is happening from the Portland community to the ICE facility.
So who's trying to create the propaganda?
I would argue the Portland community, but I believe that the opposition is using the propaganda just as much.
Yeah. So
as any, but the propaganda being created is on the side of the what would you call them? Not the minority, but the antagonists. The antagonists would be Antifa.
Okay.
Would be my argument.
So, and Antifa is who?
Oh, it's not a real thing? Have you been told that too? So in Portland, it's an organization.
I don't get told things.
I'm sorry, that would.
I do deep
but
research
if you watch Jimmy Kimmel, especially, it's Antifa is an idea. They mock the idea that it's a terrorist organization. It fulfills all the criteria. It's well networked, but it is the word for like not concentrated network of power.
Decentralized.
Decentralized. It's a decentralized network.
So, okay. So
now, are they domestic terrorists? I mean, some of them may be, but is the idea, the network idea? It's not a decision I could make.
The reason why I wanted to drill in and ask those questions is because I want to understand if we're saying that, some group is trying to create propaganda, that it assumes an organization or an individual who is disciplined enough to say, this is what I want out of this. Now, I think that there could be
to fund it, right? Would that be
and
part
potentially
of it?
Funding it?
Okay,
if it needs funding. So I think that there are probably journalists who are saying, okay, I want to get a really good shot, so I'm going to look for everything bad that happens because those are the things that are going to fit best into the news.
Yep.
And then they may even, because I've seen this happen in a high school when I was in high school, there was an Indianapolis based story about something being out of control in Warren Central High School. And then the cameraman was there for part of a report that they were doing. And then 2 kids were goofing off that were friends of mine. I wasn't on location at this point, but the one hits the other and they're just having fun, but it was like a perfect shot. So the guy says,
Of fighting.
"Hey, do it again, do it again." And so
Get
they
'em.
capture that shot. And so I totally believe that there are journalists that are either cherry picking. Obviously,
Absolutely
they have to cherry
cherry-picking.
pick. They
Yeah.
have to cherry
No,
pick.
not just cherry picking like artistic or representative, but like I want to create a narrative that makes people
Exactly.
think it's
To-
just fucking
totally agree.
chaos citywide.
100% agree. And then there's probably a governor who is like, I need to make sure that whatever way I tell this story, that it favors me.
Mhm.
And then there's a mayor who says the same thing.
Mhm.
And then there's a president who says the same thing. And then all the supporters and operatives of those people's administrations. And so I totally think that that's happening because it always does. But what I highly doubt is that there's somebody who is actually saying, I'm going to fund this entire protest because I want to create a fake protest. I bet you that whenever, and I know that that's happened at times, I'm not saying that's never happened, but what I think is most likely is that there is some civil unrest. And then it just reminds me of this original post that inspired this conversation, is that somebody is at all times on both sides seizing on that and saying,
that's called media. Yeah.
Let's capture this
100%.
and let's,
make it
this,
about this story.
and make it about our cause, whatever our cause is.
It's about us.
I would say, to put a bow tie on it, our society is escalating at a rate that I've not seen in my lifetime in terms of violence.
And you are the oldest
I am the
amongst
oldest.
us.
I am
Mid-60s.
Violence, guns, the need for gun control in this country is unbelievable, but yet we continue to turn our back on it.
We should
I don't
have
know
that conversation.
I don't know how many
too.
children have to die in a school or at a church or at a gathering before we do something about it. And it's escalating. It's brewing. Someone is brewing, stirring, mixing the escalation in our society. So as we continue to go down this path, all we do is amp up. And we're not de-escalating in any way, shape, or form. It's just not happening. And if I can ask any of our listeners, 12 of them, and ourselves, be tolerant, be smart, think, use your head, know that government is not your solution, know they're not working for you, and we're naive if we think they are. You gotta open up, man. You gotta figure this stuff out.
It's chaos. Be kind.
Yeah. Be good and love one another. I know it's cliche, but good grief. I would rather find a way to like you than think I've got to carry a gun to protect myself from you, right? I mean, that's not the country I want to live in.
I don't have to protect myself from you.
Right. You know what I mean. Yeah. So that's my thought on it.
Good
Go ahead,
conversation. The only advice I would give to put a pin in this is look for the long story, not the short one.
Good.
Because
100%.
Twitter's fun, but snippets are fun, but the real story comes from something much broader.
Yeah, and if you really want to know, you have to put some time into it. You can't just get a 2-minute or a 1-minute reel and know what the hell's going on.
And as I always ask, why are they telling this story?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable question to ask every time you read an article.
Yes.
Watch watch a
Documentary.
fiction, documentaries especially, but fiction or truthful stories, whatever it is. What are they trying to tell and why? I don't think the military is going to help us in these cities, but it's interesting to watch. We'll see what happens.
Until then,
great conversation, guys.
good stuff.
Everybody have a great week.